The sun was dipping behind the rugged mountains of New Mexico, casting long golden shadows across the prairie. A gentle wind rustled through the tall grasses, carrying with it the faint scent of pine and dust. Maria Alvarez stood on the porch of her modest homestead, wiping her brow with the edge of her apron. Inside, her infant son Mateo stirred in his cradle, soft whimpers rising as he prepared to wake for his evening feeding. Maria had moved to this isolated patch of land with her husband 3 years ago, hoping to carve out a better life. Far from the crowded streets of Santa Fe, life here was hard, but it was honest. The land was generous when it wanted to be, cruel when it didn't. Since her husband's passing 6 months ago, taken by a fever that swept through the settlements, Maria had done her best to keep the farm running alone while caring for Mateo. Her heart often ached with loneliness. The nights stretched endlessly, filled only with the sound of coyotes and the distant howl of the wind. But Maria was strong. For Mateo, she would endure anything. That evening, as she prepared to bring water in from the well, a strange sound caught her ear. It was a low, strained moan, almost like a wounded animal. Instinctively, her hand went to her chest, feeling for the little silver cross she always wore. She turned toward the sound, squinting into the long shadows. From behind a copse of juniper trees stumbled a figure. At first, fear clutched her throat. An Apache warrior, tall and broad-shouldered, staggered toward her. His dark hair hung in tangled braids. His chest was bare, save for a leather strap crossing it, and dried blood streaked his arm. In his arms, cradled against him, was a small bundle, a baby. Maria's heart jumped. Every warning ever whispered, in hushed tones by settlers about the Apache, flooded her mind. They spoke of raids of men who took cattle, horses, and lives without a thought. Her first instinct was to flee inside and bar the door. But something in the warrior's eyes stopped her. He looked desperate, hollow with exhaustion, and terrified him. Emotion she never expected to see on the face of a fierce Apache fighter. He dropped to his knees, holding the baby forward. Milk, he rasped. His voice was low, guttural, strained from lack of use, or perhaps injury. Please, milk, for my son. Maria's breath caught. She could see now that the baby was tiny cheeks sunken, eyes glazed. It let out a weak, pitiful cry that cut right through her fear. Still cautious, Maria approached. The warrior did not move to threaten her. He simply knelt there, eyes pleading, arms shaking from fatigue. She reached out, touching the baby's cheek. It was hot, dangerously so, and the tiny mouth moved in search of nourishment. Without fully understanding why, Maria scooped the baby into her arms. Mateo had recently fed, and her breasts were still full. She carried the infant inside, nodding, for the warrior to follow. He crawled forward a step and collapsed just inside the door, breathing hard. Maria settled into her rocking chair, adjusting her blouse, and guided the baby to nurse. The child latched on weakly at first, then with increasing urgency, tears pricked Maria's eyes as she watched the life slowly return to the small face. From the floor, the warrior let out a shuddering breath. You save him, he whispered. Maria didn't answer. Her heart was too full of fear, of sorrow, and strangely of compassion for this stranger and his child. As the minutes stretched on, the baby finished feeding and drifted into a peaceful sleep. Maria gently lifted him to her shoulder, patting his back, feeling his tiny heartbeat against her skin. The warrior managed to sit up, watching her with eyes that shone in the dim light of the lantern. He has no mother, he finally said, voice rough. They came. Men with rifles, killed my woman, my brothers. I ran, took him, no milk, no nothing. Maria's throat tightened. She thought of her own Mateo, how vulnerable he was, how icy tragedy could have struck them instead. You need food and water? She said quietly. He hesitated, then nodded. Maria ladled some stew into a wooden bowl and brought it to him. His hands shook as he took it, and he bowed his head, muttering words in his language, perhaps a prayer or a thank you. For 3 days. The warrior remained at her homestead, too weak to travel. Maria nursed his baby alongside Mateo, holding them both close to her breast, marveling at the contrast her rosy, plump son and this frail little boy with dark eyes and solemn expression. Slowly, the Apache baby grew stronger, his tiny fists clenched with new life. And he even let out small giggles that startled Maria so much she laughed with tears in her eyes. During this time, the warrior whose name she learned was Nantan helped in quiet, unobtrusive ways. He chopped wood with efficient strength once he regained it. He fixed her broken fence and even showed her how to set simple traps for rabbits. They did not speak much, for language lay between them like a rocky river, but gestures and shared looks bridged the gap. One evening, Maria found herself standing on the porch beside him, watching the sunset bleed across the sky. Mateo and the Apache baby slept inside, bellies full. Nantan spoke after a long silence. "You, good mother, not only to your blood, to mine too." Maria swallowed, emotions choking her. He needed me, just like Mateo. He turned to look at her, eyes glistening. "No woman in my tribe would feed another's child. You, different." They're all children, all innocent. They deserve life. The next morning, Nantan prepared to leave. The baby, now stronger, clutched Maria's finger as she said goodbye. Nantan carefully placed a beaded necklace into her hand. "From my mother," he said simply. "For yours, you are mother to my son too." Maria clutched it to her chest, overcome. Nantan lifted the baby in a soft cradle board he'd woven from juniper and rawhide. Before he left, he placed his hand over Maria's "If ever you need look. To the hills, smoke will rise. We will come." Then he was gone, disappearing into the morning mist. Years later, Maria would stand again on that porch, older now, hair streaked with silver, Mateo at her side, a strong young man. Together they watched smoke curl above the distant hills. Signal fire she recognized immediately. Not long after, riders came, Apache warriors leading a caravan. Among them was Nantan's son, tall and proud, dark eyes sparkling as they fell upon Maria. Without hesitation, he dismounted and embraced her, whispering in halting Spanish, "Mother." Mateo stepped forward, clapping him on the shoulder. Brothers, though not by blood, they had been linked since that desperate day when an Apache warrior came begging for milk. In that moment, Maria realized family was not just born, it was made through acts of mercy and the tender weaving of human hearts across all barriers. Her story would live on, told by both Apache and settlers alike. Not of war or hatred, but of a woman who opened her arms and became a mother, not just to her own child, but to a child who was once her enemy's. That Maria knew was how true peace began.